Have you ever thought about carving out your own little corner of the internet? You know, a space with its own vibe, its own rules, totally under your control. It's a really exciting idea, right? But it's also on a razor's edge between being this amazing, thriving community and, well, a total disaster. Today we're going to dive into how to build a self-hosted anonymous image board, and more importantly, how to actually steer it from chaos to control. Let's break down how to do it the right way.
On one hand, you've got the dream. This is what pulls people in, a platform for true free expression, a place to build a really tight-knit community around a niche interest, and a way to guarantee user privacy. It's all about that independence. But then there's the other side of the coin, the nightmare scenario. You're talking constant spam attacks, coordinated raids, the very real threat of legal trouble over stuff users post, and just the soul-crushing burnout that comes from trying to juggle it all. Honestly, this is the reality check that kills so many of these projects before they even get off the ground.
So you might be wondering, how did we even get here? Well, the whole idea of self-hosting isn't new, but its purpose has really shifted over time. It kind of started with people just wanting to create their own little niche forums. Then it became a huge thing for people trying to find a new home after being deplatformed elsewhere. And now, thanks to tools like Docker and accessible VPS hosting, it's easier than ever to get started. This whole evolution brings us to the most critical question today. It's not just can you launch a board, but how can you possibly do it securely and in a way that doesn't burn you out?
And that leads us right to the core challenge, building a safer kind of anonymity. And the key here is to just forget everything you think anonymity means. Seriously, it's not about chaos, and it is definitely not about a lack of rules. In fact, it's pretty much the exact opposite.
Okay, first, let's make sure we're on the same page. What are we even talking about? A self-hosted image board is kind of like building your own house instead of just renting an apartment. You own the land, that's the server. You get to choose the design, that's your software. And most importantly, you set the house rules. Users can come and go, post pictures and text, all without having to sign a lease with an email and a password. This right here cuts to the heart of the biggest, most dangerous misconception out there. So many people think anonymity is this wild, rule free-for-all, but that is a perfect recipe for failure. The reality, for anonymity to actually last, to be sustainable, it needs a strong, clear, well-defined structure. It's a feature you have to build and actively protect. It doesn't just happen on its own.
Okay, so how do you actually build that structure? Let's get practical. This is your security blueprint, and it's built on a few absolutely essential pillars of protection that you just can't afford to skip.
So, here's your high-level checklist. First, you've got to choose the right software stack. That's your foundation. Next, and this one is completely non-negotiable, you have to lock down your file uploads. That is the single biggest way attackers will come after you. Then, you need to implement a smart logging policy, deciding what you keep, what you don't, and why. And finally, you have to build your defenses against spam, that constant flood of noise that can completely drown a new community. You get these 4 things right, and you are building on some really solid ground.
Let's zoom in a bit on upload security, because this is where a lot of boards go down in flames. You absolutely 100% must scan every single file for malware the second it hits your server. And you have to be ruthless with what file types you allow. If you don't need it, block it, period. Using file hashing is also super smart. It basically creates a unique digital fingerprint for every file, so you can instantly spot and block reposts of bad content. And finally, have a really clear policy for how long you're going to store these files. Keeping everything forever, that's just a massive liability waiting to happen.
Okay, so once you've got the technical security in place, it's time to pivot to the human element, moderation. And this is a really delicate balancing act between freedom and safety. It brings up a huge question.
This right here. This is the whole ball game. How do you stop the bad stuff without completely destroying the privacy that your community was built on in the first place? Well, the answer isn't total surveillance. It's about using a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. It's about using a collection of smart, targeted tools and clear policies.
And wow, this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? Take a look at where your energy is going to go. A whopping 70% of your time is spent on just being reactive and defensive, fighting off automated spam and dealing with high-risk illegal content. That leaves you almost no time for actual community building. And that 20% for admin burnout, that's the direct result of that other 80%. This isn't just the challenge, it's the challenge that sinks most of these projects. So to fight that burnout and actually win back your time, here's your modern moderation toolkit. To fight that 40% spam problem, you use automated filters and you rate limit posts.
To handle that 30% of high-risk content, you need crystal clear rules, a simple abuse reporting system for your users, and a pre-planned process for handling official takedown requests. Each one of these tools is designed to help you manage threats smartly, without having to spy on your users.
All right, we've covered security, we've covered moderation. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, the actual foundation your board is built on. Your choice of hosting is about way more than just speed. It is absolutely fundamental to your security and your privacy.
So where do you start? Well, for most people, a VPS is the way to go. It hits that sweet spot between costs and control. As you start to grow, you might look into Docker, which makes it way easier to scale up and even move your whole community if you need to. And for the really big communities with tons of traffic, a dedicated server gives you the ultimate power, but also, the most responsibility. It's all about picking the right tool for where you are now and where you think you're going to go.
And listen, whatever you do, please do not overlook this part. A reverse proxy, think Nginx or Cloudflare, it basically acts like a security guard and a front desk receptionist for your server. It hides your server's real location, which protects you from direct attacks, and it helps manage all the incoming traffic to keep things running smoothly. It is an absolutely essential layer of defense.
So, we've been through all the tech, the security, the moderation. What's the big picture here? What's the one core idea you should walk away with? Well, it all boils down to a really powerful concept: freedom through responsibility.
A truly successful, long-lasting, anonymous community is not some lawless wasteland. It's a carefully, thoughtfully constructed environment. It's a constant, deliberate balancing act between the privacy you promise your users and your own responsibility as the owner to keep the space safe and operational. You simply can't have one without the other.
At the end of the day, creating one of these communities, it's really about building a home. A safe, well-structured home for people to talk and to share. The tools are out there, the strategies exist, the path is pretty clear. So the only question left is, are you ready to build it?